The 1.4 billion heist of the Equity Bank became a talk of the town a few months ago, but the trail of the said case ran cold. What really happened? Now the case has been revived again as the main suspect in the 1.5 billion heist is arrested as he arrived in Kenya from China. A man linked to the 1.49 billion heist at the Equity Bank has been seized by detectives after jetting back from China, where he had reportedly gone into hiding after receiving part of the loot in hard cash. John Karima Wainaina was arrested on November 9 at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, Jkia, upon his arrival from China. Surveillance of his phone and social media chats with some of the suspects allowed the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI's Banking Fraud Investigation Unit, and a crack unit at the Elite Unit of the National Intelligence Service, NIS, to monitor his movement and issue an alert about his Nairobi return. The police believe that Mr. Wainaina was a member of an organized group engaged in bank fraud, money laundering, and stealing via penetration of banking IT systems. He escaped to China in July after the Equity Bank robbery was reported to have occurred, sparking a frenzied investigation by the DCI and the NIS. The probe led to the arrest of David Mashiri Kimani, Equity Bank's manager at the Group Processing Center Salary Processing Unit, whose credentials were used to process over 40 transactions totaling to 1.49 billion before the transfer of the heist to rival banks. Detectives believe that Mr. Mashiri, who has never been seen since the Sunday, was recruited into the scheme by Mr. Wainaina. The magistrate court yesterday allowed the banking fraud unit to detain Mr. Wainaina for 10 days to allow forensic detectives to retrieve emails, texts, and WhatsApp messages from gadgets leaked to the suspect. The police sought to have Mr. Wainaina detained to allow them review CCTV, reportedly capturing the suspect in different locations with other people planning and receiving part of the stolen money in hard cash. Police need to place the suspect at the scene of the crime. Sonia Jkia, the prosecutor, told the court. The suspect was allegedly in the offense and is released before obtaining documentary evidence, electronic evidence, CCTV footage, and recording of witness statements may greatly jeopardize the intended recoveries and investigations. On July 10th, the Equity Bank Internal Control Department detected a flurry of suspicious transactions at the salaries account. There were 47 withdrawals from the payroll account. The money was quickly transferred to multiple accounts in other banks. Whenever money is sent from one bank account to another, systems on each side communicate details of the transaction, including names of the individuals or entities exchanging the funds and the amount, indicating everything is above board. The communication in banking lingo is known as corresponding credentials or corresponding credits. In the case of the 47 transactions, fictitious narratives or corresponding credits from the Equity Bank side showing the source of funds were done, making it appear like the huge sums were genuine transactions. Court documents indicate that the theft happened for more than a month, from June 1 running for weeks undetected. Preliminary investigations have established that among the primary beneficiary accounts were opened in the name of the respondent, Mr. Wainaina, and or in the name of proxy companies associated with him, which were credited with the stolen funds, Ms. Jkia said. Now, the prosecutor said Mr. Wainaina was the kingpin of the organized group that recruited insider banking staff, penetrated the bank system, and identified proxy persons whose accounts would be used to receive the heist and launder the proceeds. The magistrate directed the suspect to be held at Kileleshwa police station in Nairobi for 10 days. In July, Mr. Mashiri was arrested and produced in court as police sought for more time to interrogate him over the theft. He later disappeared with his lawyers Ndegwa Njiru and Dr. Paul Gitau, claiming that he was abducted from his home in Dogoto, Kiambu County. Investigators claimed that the money lost included Equity member savings and deposits and salaries. Director of Public Prosecution Renson Igonga argued to the court to issue a warrant of arrest against the manager. The prosecution said the suspect was released on a 500,000 bond by the DCI but failed to appear in court. According to the DPP, the man was supposed to report to the DCI Kiambu Road headquarters on Tuesday and Thursdays, but was allegedly missing. Mr. Degwa told the court that wounded men with guns raided Mr. Mashiri's house on the night of August 12, 2024 and took him away. The lawyer added that the same happened to Mr. Mashiri's father, David Mashiri, as he was allegedly abducted from his rural home in Murang'a only to be freed after a day in captivity. The case was mentioned on November 12, 2024 and fixed for a further mention on January 21, 2025. The Business Daily has reliably learnt that Mr. Mashiri is in police custody and is in bad health. Mr. Mashiri, according to detectives, took sick leave in early June when there was communication between the Salary Processing Unit, the Finance Department and Reconciliation Unit, requiring them to align to the bank's policy and guidelines in regularizing accounts. Investigators added that most of the accounts that were debited with the money were new. When the money was credited, it was again transferred to other accounts and later withdrawn to avoid detention. Investigations also found that most, if not all, of the accounts into which the money was paid into were operated by businesses that were newly registered. The DCI detectives believe the businesses were opened solely for the purpose of receiving the money obtained fraudulently. Now, this is a case that really shocked the country. A bank manager swindling over 1.49 billion Kenyan shillings. Now, do you know how much is that amount of money? That is so much money. And even if we say it's a cabal of about 10 people that stole that amount of money, everybody would have a very fair share of the said amount. Because you know what? If they played their card right, they would have gotten away with it. But according to the details we have, some of them started using the money immediately after it arrived into their bank accounts. And this led to suspicion. Because how can you deposit about 200 million in somebody's account and then the next day somebody comes and withdraws 50 million in cash? Now, the man that was arrested while he was arriving from China on November 9th, he is believed to be the main suspect or the orchestrator of the said heist. Currently, he is being held in custody for the next 10 days as police continue with the investigations into the matter so that they can at least place him into the scene of the crime. That's what's up and that's what's trending. Remember the man, Mr. Mashiri, Kimani Mashiri, who disappeared about 2 or 3 months ago, and the police denied knowing of his whereabouts when they were told to produce him in court. So currently, they have him. And when Ruto tries to verify that abductions are not taking place in this country, we ask, now what is this? For now, make sure you subscribe to Celeb Corner KE for more news and more updates.